Cleric is one of the most rewarding classes in the game, delivering a ton of utility to so many different combinations. But what if we supercharge the war domain with a strong melee fighter? In this video today, we're going to go over our Templar build, utilizing the war domain cleric with the amazing abilities of the Battlemaster fighter, allowing us to become an absolute dreadnought on the battlefield. This is a pretty straightforward build, but the beginning can be a little tricky, so I'll step you through the character creation process, then we'll go through what progression looks like for this setup. If this is your first time on my channel, the way I do things is by upfronting the knowledge in my videos, so you can decide if it's the right one for you. So we'll be making a fighter that takes the Battlemaster subclass for all of the awesome battle maneuvers, then go across to the War Domain Cleric to really weaponize our bonus action for tons of damage every round. There's some nuance to certain things here and there, but that's really the entire breadth of what we'll be talking about. This is a straightforward build, so I want to let you get back to enjoying the game as fast as possible, so feel free to head on out. Before you do head on out, please don't forget to like, comment, and or subscribe. Each one of those things does help me out in a huge way. I currently have 89% unsubscribed viewership on the channel, and that is a metric I'm trying to change this year, so every little bit helps. You can jump ahead to any part of the video that interests you the most using the chapters with the timeline and the description. And if you need help with any other subject in Baldur's Gate 3, check out my playlist linked below and at the end of the video. Well, let's get started here on our Ultimate Templar melee build for Baldur's Gate 3. Now, for your Templar's character creation, go with whatever race makes the most sense for you. Some really good ones, of course, are going to be things like the Tiefling and going with the Zariel Tiefling, just to give you access to both Searing Smite and Branding Smite, two really great capabilities just to kind of have in your repertoire. Those are spells that you would typically get as a Paladin, but in this kind of combination, it makes a lot of sense. Other fun stuff that you can do is a Gold Dwarf. Now, the reason I like the Gold Dwarf is because it's just a lot of hit points you'll be getting. Your hit point max increases by 1 and increases by 1 every time you gain a level. So this really ramps up that kind of durability that this class can really dive into, and I like that quite a bit. Since you are a melee class, the half-orc is always fun, being able to get critical hits and add a little bit more spice to them. When you add a critical hit with a melee weapon attack, you deal an extra dice of weapon damage. Excuse my... what are these things called? These things are called allergies. I can't even think. I'm loaded up on antihistamines, so I apologize if I sound miserable. If you reach 0 hit points, though, you regain 1 hit point instead of becoming down, which is also very nice as a half-orc. And you can stick even with just a good old human. Getting that increase to your carry capacity is always nice. You're going to have a ton of strength, so I wouldn't really worry about it. My go-to pick right now is just going to be a Dragonborn, because I just don't really play Dragonborn enough. I think the Dragonborn, unfortunately, don't really get many things going for them. They don't get any kind of racial specializations, which kind of suck. But they do have really cool things like their breath attacks, which now scale with their level. And they also get a resistance to said attack. So if you take maybe a fire or a lightning-based Dragonborn, which is going to be something like a bronze or a gold, then it's going to give you resistances to fire or lightning respectively, which is actually quite good because it's probably the two most prevalent types of damage you'll be dealing with outside of like stuff like cold and acid, which is not as common, I would say. I'm just going to choose this for the sake of the video. Our class is going to start off with a fighter. Now, the reason behind that is, and I don't know if it shows it anywhere. I don't think it shows it in here. So the reason we're choosing a fighter to start with is that fighter, unlike cleric, gets us access to constitution proficiency. That's an actual different word I can't think of, but like I said, I'm hopped up on antihistamines. What this means is, whenever we have to make a constitution check, which is a concentration check, we would get our proficiency bonus added into that check. This is huge. This allows us to really keep all of our concentration spells online, and that's what we're going to be focusing on as a cleric. Because with our cleric, we're not going to be casting spells at things so much as using our capabilities to cast stuff like Crusader's Mantle or just Beacon of Faith, whatever one of the little guys float around you. We'll see it in a sec. And it's nice to start with a fighter because that brings it to us immediately. If we were to start as a cleric, we get wisdom, and I think it's charisma or wisdom and something else for our proficiencies, and those aren't bad, but we might as well take advantage of all the ones that we need with the fighter. So that is what our focus has been here with the fighter today. Fighting style is going to be up to you and how you want to kind of pivot this character. Do you want to go with kind of more of a 2-weapon hand fighting kind of heavy damage dealer variant of this build, definitely go with that. Do you want to dual wield? Go with 2-weapon fighting. Whatever you really want to do. For this character, I'm going to really kind of focus on sword and board, or at least kind of like a moving tank style of character. So I'm going to go with dueling. And this is going to give me 2 more damage with a weapon if I'm only using one weapon. A shield in my offhand still helps me out here. You can go with something protection though if you want to get a reaction going here, or defense just to kind of get a base +1 bonus to armor class while wearing armor regardless. Background, of course, go with what everything makes the most sense for you and your character. Please build out a role play for this character. Don't just go with what I say because it sounds good. Maybe you are a former soldier who is kind of turned away from war towards more of like a monastic type of style, or maybe this is your Templars envisioned as some sort of military order, the way that they were originally envisioned during the Crusades. Whatever kind of stance you want to take with this. Are you a reformed criminal? Are you a folk hero who has really kind of stepped up? Are you an acolyte who has taken in some teachings of war, whatever it is? He read Sun Tzu, whatever it is. Have fun with it. Choose whatever you want. My min-max option is always Guild Artisan because it gives us insight and persuasion, 2 of probably the most prevalent checks that you'll be making in the game as the main character. And then the same thing here goes with our skills. I would just choose whatever thing makes the most sense. Intimidation works, but I'd probably choose Perception here, like this. +3 to Athletics already. That's fine. Athletics checks is going to be when you are shoving or being shoved, and that is a pretty common thing to do, especially like, hey, you know what? I did my damage, and I can shove something, maybe shove them over a ledge, a precipice, as it were, whatever it is. But this is probably how I would do things here initially. So when it comes to the ability points for your Templar, let's take some things into consideration. I'm going to be going with a heavy armor character, as you can see here. So my dexterity is going to be at 10. Our wisdom is not as crucial because our wisdom is how we'll be doing offensive magic if we're going to be doing that, but we're not really going to be doing that. We'll be using our cleric spells to buff ourselves or use some kind of reactive magic, whatever it is. We're not necessarily going to be using it to fling spells down range, but it is crucial to have it to at least a palatable amount because we want this to be active for our spells, right? If it's too low, if it's just at 10, we'll only be able to have 1 spell. So we want to be able to scale this properly with ourselves. So I'm going to go with 14 right here. You can bring this down to increase your charisma if you so wish, but there's lots of ways that you can get bonuses to your charisma when it comes to your roles as your character. You could bring your constitution down a little bit here and do that if you so wish, you know, whatever kind of makes sense for you. Here we could do something like that, and I don't know, whatever you want, but the reason my constitution here is at 16 is because we're going to be doing lots of concentration checks as this subclass combination. And having our constitution up as high as possible is really going to help us out from a hit point standpoint and succeeding those constitution checks with the concentration rolls. So this is what we're going to stick with here before we jump into our character progression and what this looks like. The progression for this character is somewhat pretty linear. We're just going to be choosing fighter and cleric and fighter and cleric and fighter and cleric type stuff. So right here at level 2, you can just go to fighter to level 5 to get your extra attack unlocked, do a little bit of damage, come back to fighter after we get our cleric up to level 5, and have it be 7 fighter, 5 cleric. You can do it that way if you wish. I like to actually do cleric right out the gate with just 1 level into it, into war domain, because then this gives us our war priest charges. This allows us to take our bonus action and weaponize them, make it so that we can do bonus damage with our bonus attack right out the gate. Then when we get 5 fighter, we have our extra attack, which is going to trigger on our primary action, and our bonus action can do its attack with war priest charges. So we get a lot going for it, and we'll just choose whatever we want. Cantrips here too, that's nice, going to be nice in the beginning, because remember, cantrips are level 0 spells. You can cast these infinitely. Go with like Blade Ward, like Guidance. My allergies are slowly killing me. Thaumaturgy, gain advantage on intimidation performance checks if you want to do that. You can go with Sacred Flame if you want to get a little bit of a range thing going, whatever makes sense. Then prepared spells, we can get something like Bless, so we can keep ourselves up with a 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws. We can get like a Healing Word if we wanted a little bit of healing going on here. We could put in something like Guiding Bolt if we want a range thing, or Bane just to bring down something's capability, because it's basically the opposite, right? Minus 1d4 to penalty to attack rolls and saving throws for an enemy. But really good one here is Sanctuary as well. You can use it on a character that maybe you don't want to take damage that round, or even protection from evil and good, because you will be dealing with lots of aberrations, celestials, elementals, fays, fiends, and undead, especially even in Act 1. So go with whatever makes sense for you. Command is very good too. It's a nice little way to control things in the beginning. Whatever kind of makes sense. So we'll do that, and you're just going to lock into those abilities. You can swap those out because you are a cleric, which is nice, but we're going to bring ourselves back into fighter, giving us action surge at level 2, which is crucial, and then we're going to choose our subclass. Battlemaster is the subclass we're going with because we want our combat maneuvers. These things are absolutely crucial to this class. It's going to make it really fun. The very first one we're going to choose, though, is Riposte, because this weaponizes our reaction as well. So when a hostile creature misses you with a melee attack, well, weaponizes your misses, or their misses, expend a superiority die to retaliate with a powerful strike that deals an additional 1d8 damage. So what you're getting here is just another form of attack in a round. And that's an additional 1d8 on that attack, so you can do quite a bit of damage here. But some good ones as well are pushing attack, because this allows you to displace things and do some damage to them. Sweeping attack is a little bit kind of, I'm sorry, not sweeping attack, trip attack. I would use either trip attack or pushing attack, one or the other. They're both quite good. And then feinting attack is really nice. You can use your action and bonus action on a turn to attack a target with advantage and deal 1d8. Goading attack is nice, deal an additional 1d8 and attempt to goad the target into attacking you if you want to kind of be that kind of holder of the line. Disarming attack is very strong. Spend a superiority die to make an attack that deals an additional 1d8 damage and possibly forces the target to drop the weapon they are holding. So why I like disarming strike here, or attack here, is it does a bonus damage. It's still only a attack though. I'm sorry, an action though, versus like you look at like feinting. Use both your action and bonus action. So I would try to steer clear of stuff that uses both. Precision attack is also one of my favorites. You'd spend a superiority die to add to the result to an attack roll. So I would choose probably these three to begin with. If I wanted something to displace people, I would swap out disarming for pushing. But I think Riposte and Precision are kind of are auto picks in my opinion, and the rest can kind of be depend more on you and your play style. But a lot of these are all very good. You really can't go that wrong. Rally is not that great because it gives you temp hit points, and temp hit points you can only get from one resource. So if you have maybe a cleric in your party, a cleric and or a warlock, really is what I meant, as a warlock, and they are a fiend warlock, you shut off their ability to get the temp hit points from killing things. So just be careful here, right? Rally can actually be a double-edged sword if you have lots of temp hit points that your characters can get from other sources. So that's the only one I would kind of want to give you a little bit of caution on. We'll accept that here and push it to level 4, where we can have a conversation about our feat options, which there are quite a few. So let's have a conversation here on that. The feats for our Templar are far and wide. You can go simply with ability improvement, just pop that in there if you so wish. Keep in mind, there's lots of ways to improve just, it's called a half feat when you choose something like Athlete here, which gives you an ability and then one ability point into one or the other, an ability point into anything. That's considered a half feat. So Athlete here is an example that gives us 1 point into strength. So you can actually get quite a bit going here if you want to get a lot of the early things that give you bonuses to abilities permanently, like the Hag's Hair in Act 1. You can use that on Constitution, then get Durable, and now you've got 18 Constitution. Or get it on Strength and choose Athlete, and now you've got 17 or 18 Strength. So there's lots of different ways that you can actually supplement in your capabilities. So choose those if you wish to kind of go that route. Now, depending upon what you choose weapon-wise, you do have some different feat options as well. You go in with 2 weapons, just pick up Dual Wielder, gives you an extra armor class, and you can use weapons that are not light in your offhand, which is actually pretty nice. It's very, very crucial, actually. So I would definitely go that if I'm going dual wielding. If I'm using great weapons, go Great Weapon Master. It's, again, absolutely crucial for you. Another big one is the polearm combination of both Sentinel and Polearm Master. For this video, that's what I'm going to do because I'm going to exemplify using a spear, which counts as a polearm. Polearm Master. When attacking with a glaive, halberd, quarterstaff, or spear, you can use a bonus action to attack with the butt of your weapon. So this allows your bonus action to do a little bit more damage, well, to do some damage, rather than using your War Priest charge if you don't really want to do that in a given round. Also, here it is right here. Oh, no, here it is right here. Also, you can also make an opportunity attack when a target comes within range, which couples very well with Sentinel. When an enemy within melee range attacks an ally, you use a reaction to make a weapon attack against them, making you, again, very defensive oriented. But you gain advantage on opportunity attacks, which opportunity attacks, Polearm Master, you're doing lots of them now. And when you hit a creature with an opportunity attack, it can no longer move for the rest of its turn. And polearms have a longer reach, so you'll be able to have a longer opportunity attack. They work so well together. Other really good combinations here are Shield Master, making it really good if you're using shields. Heavy Armor Master, if you really want to just lean very hard into being that juggernaut, that tank. This also gives you +1 strength. But another one we're going to go with here, because you're going to get 3 feats in this build, Martial Adept. The reason I want Martial Adept is because it's adding more to what I already do. You learn 2 more maneuvers from the Battle Master subclass and gain an additional superiority die to fuel them. You regain experience, blah, 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 blah. That's the same thing as always. So, remember we were talking a little bit about, like, painting attack? Well, I can pick it up now, right? Or I can get maneuvering attack if I want people to have the ability to move around when I do things. Spend a superiority die to make an attack that deals an additional 1d8. On hit, select which friendly creature will gain half its movement speed. It will not provoke attacks of opportunity. So, lots of really great things here. So let's go with pushing attack. Distract target, giving your allies advantage on their next attack roll is actually very nice as well. I always forget about this one. Let's just go with, where was it? Getting attack just to kind of have it. So I'm going to do that one first, but you'll have 2 more you can choose. I'm going to then choose Sentinel and Polearm Master for this build, but do whatever you're making sense for the weapon choice you have in mind for your Templar. On to level 5, though. Let's just keep going down this rampage. So I'm going to stop here at level 5. Because this just gives us access to our extra attack. The final 2 levels of Fighter, one is going to give us an extra feat at level 6. And then the last level is going to give us more battle maneuvers. Because at level 7, we're going to get 2 more. So you pretty much get almost the entire kit from Battle Master, which is quite good. And I think you get more superiority die as well. So we'll get level 5, gets us extra attack. So now our action does an additional bit of damage for us. Well, it does a whole extra attack for us. And see, rather than choosing our new feat, we're actually going to spice back into our Cleric and just kind of keep running up this rampage here. What did this happen here? Well, I wouldn't even choose those spells. Who chose those spells? Not me. Certainly not me. And we get our 2 domain spells, Magic Weapon, which is nice because it's just going to give us bonus to attack and damage rolls. Keep in mind, this is an example of something that has concentration and why we want that high constitution. Because concentration is going to be, you only have 1 concentration spell up at a time. So until we get to the real focal point one, which we're going to get to very soon, it's nice to have the ability to kind of have that concentration used for something like that. But enhance ability here, you can use this if you're in conversations. Warding Bond can actually be good if you have another frontline character with you. Hold Person's always very strong. Silence, plenty of options here. Plenty of options you can have a lot of fun with this build. Let's do this, and I'll just choose like Hold Person. And now we get a cantrip. I'll just use that, and we get another feat. So we've chosen our Martial Adept. I'm going to go right now with Polearm Master. That's going to be our juicy feat for this character, and our Cleric is good to keep going. And at level 5, we stop. We're done with Cleric now. This gives us access to Destroy Undead, which is cool. But the big thing we wanted here at this spell level is spell level 3. And we get access to Crusader's Mantle, which is cool. But this is the big one. Spirit Guardians. I said this earlier in the video. I messed it up. It's like Guardians of Faith or some crap. But this is the big one because it's going to do either necrotic or radiant damage around us. And we just have it on all the time. We walk around and it just zaps things. And you can walk in and out of damage. You can really cheese things with this. But it's probably the best thing that you can have going here for you. You can use Beacon of Hope if you want here. You've got Remove Curse, which is actually quite nice. Whoa, there we go. Enemy dead. There it is. Revivify. So you can revive a companion if you don't have any scrolls on you. I actually quite like Mass Healing Word. That's another very good one you can use. Daylight can be used quite well in the second act. So this is where our casting really stops. We're not focusing on all of these capabilities to do all this crazy damage. We're really using Spirit Guardians and our ability as a War Domain Cleric to use those priest charges. So we'll accept this, and we'll get our last level here into Fighter, and then we're going to pick up Sentinel. So that's how I'm doing this build. You don't need to do that if you don't want. Polearm Master could be swapped out for Great Weapon Master, dual wield, whatever it is, however you want to spice this character up. So now that we've talked about all of this, we would get one last level into Fighter, and we would choose whatever Battle Master traits we want. Let's talk about our gear. So for weapons, you have a ton of options. Just choose a one-handed weapon that really is strong for you and use that. In this case, you're going to get access to a really good, well, a decent spear at the very beginning of the game. You can use that all the way up until Act 2 when you do the quest for Shadowheart to then get this, Selûne's Spear of Night. You gain advantage on wisdom saving throws and perception checks. Perception checks is quite nice. You gain dark vision, weapon enchantment +3, and you get moonbeam. Very good here. It's going to be great for you. You just simply will use this. There are definitely other weapons you can get access to. And I've saved them for a spoiler section at the end of all this. But this is what I'd probably use through the majority of Act 3 until I got a lot of the bigger, cooler, different items. And again, it's a polearm. So this is the big focus here. This is a polearm I can use with a shield, and it's why I've taken this route. You can see I'm doing 7 to 12 damage, and we can modify this with other spells. So that is a really good weapon to use. But in the very beginning too, if you don't want to use that, Faithbreaker is really strong. You're going to get this right at the Goblin Camp, and it has this capability, which is just a face melter. Absolute power, does a ton of damage. Use it, have a lot of fun with it. And I actually really like maces because they have a lot of persistent damage. You can use stuff like the Sword of Life Stealing, which you'll get in Act 2, as long as you didn't destroy the Emerald Grove. The Falar Uluve, which you'll get in Act 1 when you go into the Underdark at the very beginning. Bellum, which you'll get in Act 3. Kethric's Warhammer, which you'll get at the end of Act 2. Just a solid weapon. That's why I've selected. There's nothing particularly good about this. I like Bellum because it gives me the ability to do a little of AoE damage, and I can use Perfectly Balanced Strike to get a little bit more damage out of my bonus action. And this is a per turn, not per long rest. So I like Bellum quite a bit here as well. Also, I didn't even mention for Falar Uluve is the melody that you can either sing or shriek to either buff or debuff people around you. It's very, very strong. This is a finesse weapon, but it doesn't matter. It just uses your dex if your strength is not higher. So you can use this with a strength character. Don't worry, it's a long sword, so it looks cool too anyway, right? Like, that damn thing looks sick as fuck. And Corpse Grinder, it's great. It's a two-handed weapon though, and I just wanted to showcase some two-handed weapons. I do have another two-handed weapon in the spoiler portion of this section, but this is just an example of a very good two-handed sword or mace that you can get. Grand Slam is very good, not to be confused with Denny's Grand Slam, which is probably one of my favorite items on the menu. But those are some of the really good weapons that you can get for this build. I really like the Spear of Night, but use whatever spears make sense for you, especially if you're going with a Dragonborn. There's a very good glaive that you can get in the Moonrise Towers that actually buffs up and helps out your breath attack, so have a lot of fun with that. Let's jump now. Before we jump, I forgot about the one weapon I don't have I wanted to talk about is the Blood of Lathander. So this is a mace you can get in Act 1. And you'll get this blessing. Once per long rest, when your hit points are reduced to 0, you regain 2 to 12 hit points. Allies within 9 meters regain 1 to 6 hit points. Always great. Lathander's Light sheds holy light in a 6-meter radius. In combat, fiends and undead standing in the light are blinded unless they succeed a Constitution saving throw, which is very good. And then you get a level 6 spell, Sunbeam. It's just a ton of damage you can get very early in the game. It's a great little power spike to last you the long route if you're not going with a Sentinel kind of route, if you're just kind of going with a sword and board. You've got that at your disposal. Let's now talk about some other things. And equipment for this character, have fun. I think the two items that are no-brainer is the Armor Persistence. Here you can see Magical Plate. All incoming damage is reduced by 2. You couple this with the feat that you get, the Heavy Armor feat, and that's -5 damage. It's really nice. And Legendary Persistence, you gain resistance and Blade Ward, so you just take no goddamn damage. It's such a good suit of armor. It's probably the best heavy armor that you can just get in the game. There is another piece of armor that is a legendary, but this one, as far as like just being able to buy it from a merchant is what I meant, and not being necessarily gated by getting it. Like, there are a lot of legendary items you can't get access to if you don't do certain things. All you have to do for the armor persistence is not destroy the Emerald Grove. Then also you get some boots that match this, the boots of persistence. You gain freedom of movement and long strider with dex saving throws +1. That's probably the no-brainer as far as the best boots and chest for this character. But let's take a look at some of the other ones. I'm just wearing this half-plate armor because it looks cool for the contents of the video. I don't think it's a particularly good one, but you can use it if you so wish. But some of the other things here, we do have Kethric's armor, Reaper's Embrace, all incoming damage reduced by 2. When activated, you can't, or Reaper's Rigidity, you can't be moved against your will by any spell or action, but have disadvantage on dex saving throws. And you have this cool ability called Howl of the Dead. Let out a bone-chilling howl that numbs all enemy creatures, all nearby creatures, sorry. Their movement speed is halved. The spellcaster has advantage on attack rolls against the affected entity. So this can allow you to kind of drop an AoE bomb around, and then you have advantage when you're trying to rip through them with your melee. It's a really, really cool piece of armor here. Rippling Force Mail is also very cool and thematic as well. Gain Force Conduit when taking slashing, piercing, or bludgeoning damage, and this will stack up here. So once, if the entity takes damage while it has 5 or more turns remaining, it deals 1 to 4 force damage in a 20-foot radius. So basically allows you to blow up after you take a certain amount of damage, which is really, really cool. And it reduces that damage. The bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage against the affected entity is reduced by 1 per turn remaining. So if you get hit a bunch of times, this will stack up until it gets to 5, then it blows up. So it's a really, really cool piece of armor. Blackguard's Plate is also very cool. All incoming damage reduced by 1 and advantage on wisdom saving throw checks. So any kind of charming, anything like that thrown your way, you can at least kind of help mitigate that by having an advantage on it, because you'll already have a proficiency in wisdom saving throws as a result of being a cleric, which is very, very, very cool. Outside of the armor though, let's talk about our other pieces. We have these Gauntlets of Surging Accuracy. When you use Action Surge, gain a 1d4 bonus to attack rolls for the rest of your turn. So how you'd use this succinctly is to cast Action Surge and then do all of your attacks and everything like that. And this is nice if you couple this with a Potion of Quickness, where you're just going to have tons of actions in a given round, which you'll be doing extra attack on. Then you use your War Priest charges to do even more attacks. So a very good piece of armor right here. Another one you'll get in Act 3 is Legacy of the Masters. Gain +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls with weapons. It's quite nice, so you can really kind of split the hair on this, whichever one you want. I like this because it's +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls with weapons, period. It's not circumstantial, right? You'll get the Gauntlets of Surging Accuracy first in the campaign, though, so you just kind of choose whichever one works. And in the meantime, just choose those items that help out with, hey, if you do melee damage or anything like that, and just go with those. Like there's not going to be any kind of gloves that make the early game particularly easy for you or anything like that. As far as jewelry goes, a lot of this stuff is just kind of, hey, I've chosen ones that kind of work with the character. The ones I'm wearing, Ring of Regeneration, so every time it's your turn, you replenish 1 to 4 hit points. And this one, you just get a guaranteed critical hit when you do the right thing. But outside of that, you get Whisper's Promise. When you heal a creature, it gains 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws for 2 turns. So you basically bless someone if you heal them. You are a cleric, you can heal. If you're not going to heal, then don't worry about it. But if you use this with the Ring of Conjunction, in conjunction with the Ring of Regeneration, you've healed a creature. So it will trigger for you if you so wish. Crusher's Ring is good because it just gives you flat 10 increase to your movement speed. Spurred Band, during combat when the wearer starts their turn with 50% less hit points, they gain momentum just to give you a little bit more movement. Snowburst, that's not what I meant to have over here. That's from a different video. Amulet of Misty Step is just straight up giving you Misty Step if you need an amulet that just want to take its place. You get this very early in the game, but later you'll get the Amulet of the Harpers, which is nice because it gives you advantage on wisdom and saving throws, which is lovely. But Shield, so it's just a reaction, gives you 5 free armor class. Nice to have. It takes a long rest to get back online, but I really like it regardless. As far as our shields go, I am using the Shield of Devotion. This gives me aid, which is lovely, and I get 1 level 1 spell slot, which is always cool. But Adamantine Shield you'll get very early in the game at the end of Act 1. It sends targets reeling and you can't be crit hit, which is lovely, and you get your Shield Bash. And Kethric's Shield is getting a +1 bonus to spell save DC and spell attack rolls. So just use whatever you want. I kind of like the actual spell slot from this. There's one more shield that'll be on the spoiler section, but I think that all 3 of these are all great shields. Just depends on when you get them in your campaign and use them as you see fit. As far as our back items go, we have the Cloak of Protection, just good old faithful, and we have the Vivacious Cloak, so you gain 8 temp hit points after casting a spell while in melee, which you'll be doing quite a bit, and since you don't have a ton of sources of temp hit points, it's just a nice one to have, so have at it. Then we also have the Cloak of Elemental Absorption, which I really like. Absorb elemental damage once per short rest, take half damage from that next elemental damage, and deal that damage as well. So it's very nice here, right? I like it. There's a lot of ways you can have a lot of fun with this, especially if you take necrotic damage, then you cast your Spirit Guardians. It can be really fun. Helmets, I'm using the Flawed Desk Helmet. The wielder has +2 bonus to saving throws against spells. The helmet I would prefer is in the spoiler section, so coming up here. Lastly, our boots, using the Blackguard Greaves to give us Long Strider, always a good movement bonus. But you can also use Boots Evade and Comfort very early in the game. When the wearer heals a target, it gains an additional 3 temp hit points. So you can use these two temp hit point items just based off of however you're kind of approaching the character, right? Are you healing a lot? Then use these. If not, then don't use them. This one you're going to be casting in melee regardless, so use it. Alternative boots are just any ones that would give you Misty Step, or like the ones that allow you to sprint, stuff like that. So those are your items here. It's pretty much up to you depending on how you make your character as far as their weapon selection, how you divvy up what their melee is and whatnot and what have you. So have at it. So the next portion we're going to go into is more equipment, but it is spoiler oriented. If you've not gotten far into Act 3, or you don't want any spoilers about characters that you're going to meet in Act 3, anything like that, please don't go forward. Just go ahead and skip over that and go to the gameplay showcase. I don't want to spoil it for you because when I first experienced it, I was like, ho, 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 ho. So I want to preserve that for you. Let's jump down to those spoilers. All right, just in case you jumped to this section from a previous portion of the video, this is a spoiler portion. If you have not completed Act 3, or you've never played a character in Act 3 and you want to preserve any characters that you're going to meet, don't go further. But for those that are courageous, let's go ahead. So the items that I really like for this character are Sarevok's Horn Helmet. It's just so damn good because the number you need to roll a crit hit while attacking is reduced by 1, and this effect can stack. So you can stack this with other items that do the exact same, and you can't be frightened. Frightened is really terrible to deal with, so you don't have to deal with it. So it's quite nice here. If you're going to go with the two-handed weapon, definitely go with the Sword of Chaos. It's just free healing, and it does necrotic damage as well. It's just kind of slicing and dicing things. I just wanted to showcase this in this section. I'm not doing that, so it doesn't matter for me. I would be using this shield, but I'm trying not to present any spoilers to anyone. This is the shield I definitely recommend because look at Rebuke of the Mighty. When a foe hits you with a melee attack, you can use your reaction to deal it 2 to 8 force damage and knock it prone unless it succeeded saving throws. So it's a shield bash that does force damage, and also you gain advantage on saving throws against spells. Spell attack rolls against you have disadvantage, and then you get 2 spells off of this: Warding Bond, which you can use with any of your frontline bros, and Reflective Shell. A protective shell envelops you. It reflects any projectiles targeted at you back to their target of origin. So you can use this for a particularly nasty spell. And then a really good mace here is the Handmaiden's Mace. Set your wearer's strength to 18. The enchantment has no effect if the strength score is higher without it. So the reason I'm showcasing this is it's pretty good if you went with more of a dexterity-based build here. Hey, I'm going to use finesse weapons. My ranger uses finesse weapons, but I switched over to using this because now I can take advantage of it because I'm not finesse, but it sets my strength to 18, so I get all the advantages of it, and I can have all those carrying advantage. Like I can carry things a lot easier. So these 2 items are probably the more compulsory for this build. These are just kind of like circumstantial depending on how you're going about things, but I just wanted to showcase those in this section. We're into our gameplay showcase here, but 2 things I forgot to bring up are your reaction screen. So go ahead and click these little guys down here, and this will bring this up, and just make sure you have riposte set to ask, otherwise it'll be just set like this, so it'll just kind of go all hog wild. So make sure you set that like that. And also, I did not bring this up in the leveling progression system, but Guided Strike is a big portion of this build here too. So you can gain a +10 bonus to your attack roll on really hard to hit or really like spicy targets where you really want to help bring them down. Let's now jump into what this combat looks like. So without being able to actually show my character's combat, I wanted to show some of the reactions of how this works. So jumping into the combat, my character Will's been hit, and I can immediately counter with Sentinel. When an ally is attacked by a nearby creature, you may strike the attacker. Just remember that this is a reaction, and we're only allowed to do those once a turn. So I'm just gonna not react here, because I want to show off some other things here in case it happens. And we have it again. I'm just going to press not react. React. Basically, I want to see if someone attacks me and they miss. But this Jepson is just going to take his precious time as the game bugs out slowly to this. And then it goes to Fisolena. And I'm outside of range, so I cannot attack, unfortunately. And the funny thing is, like, the game recognized that I have Sentinel, so they leapt over me to do this attack, which is pretty interesting. But we have shield here that we can use. I'm going to just not react. And then I got shield blow we can use from my shield. Not react. I was hoping to get a miss here. Don't react. Don't react. Damn. Again, I was hoping to get a miss to show off that result there. And Fist Kepso is going to bug out just slightly here before we take our turn to show off some of the damage capability that we can now deliver as this Templar class. And honestly, I'd say, like, as far as fighting character goes, it's probably one of my more favorite ones. So, someone moved into range, and I messed up here because I took a potion of quickness, or a speed, to show off some stuff. But before I reset everything here to show off more combat, Polearm Master allows me to use that opportunity attack, right? She moved within range, now I can just go ahead and do this. And I can go ahead and swipe her. And she has to stop, because she got hit. So that's kind of something I wanted to show off, but unfortunately didn't get a chance to right there in that scenario. But let's go ahead and skip back around to my character's turn to show off my combat capability. Okay, now let's see what we can do. To open us up, we can just go ahead and cast Spirit Guardian. It will cost us an action. We'll be able to do damage everything around us. I can use my Potion of Speed here to allow me to have 2 actions to show off some of my stuff. But what I also want to show here is that War Priest charge, right? We can use that War Priest charge to do a bonus action's damage. So I can press bonus action and press feigning attack here, do whatever I want to kind of use my bonus action, but we can also use all of our Battle Master capabilities here. I can use Precision Attack, which in and of itself is not an attack. This does not use an action. This simply turns on so that your next weapon attack gets an attack roll bonus equal to your superiority die. And out of combat, I could have used Magic Weapon to make me a little bit stronger. So we have a lot of different ways we can approach this. So let me do this. I'm going to save right here. And we're going to come back to this, but I'm going to show you what it's like if I go ahead and use a precision attack. That's going to buff me up. And then I'm going to use, let's go ahead and go with, did I get the, no, I did not get the sweeping attack that shoots around me in a way. Let's go ahead and use, just good old disarming attack. That hits him. And I still have my attack to hit him again. And I have my polearm clout that I can use with my bonus action. Now I've got my actual extra attack I can do damage with. So let's go ahead and do disarming attack again if I want. Just to kind of show. And now I can use Guided Strike here. So I can use that capability to really push this home. Still saved, no big deal. And I've got that extra attack. I'm just going to mix up a different target here. From my War Priest charge. So I've now used my action and my bonus action. But you know what? Let's action surge. And we can really just keep driving this whole entire thing home. Had I had my bonus action up, I could have used a Potion of Speed and had 3 actions in this turn. We can go ahead now and use Spirit Guardians to show off what we can do in this situation. So now these guys are all taking damage, and all I need to do is simply move around. They can take more and more and more and more damage. So I thought I was going to reload and show off more stuff, but I'm not. This just gives you an idea of how completely ridiculous this character can really be. And I put myself in a really bad situation here to try to exemplify this as best as possible. Obviously, you wouldn't just be throwing yourself in the middle of the fray to show off abilities here. But this character has quite a lot of ways to answer a lot of different situations. And that's what I think really intrigues me and what I really like about this. I think of all the subclass characters I've covered, this is one of my favorite ones because it fits thematically how I would like to play. You don't need to go with fighter. You could go with a Ancient's Paladin. And if you go with an Ancients Paladin, you have an AoE heal on top of your War Cleric capabilities. You can go with a Devotion Paladin, a Vengeance Paladin. All those are really great capabilities. You just need to remember that you're not going to be focusing as much into strength. You do have to put some into charisma. And my problem too with that is if you're not going to go Warlock, you have to focus on strength, charisma, and wisdom to get the spell slots, to get your charisma damage, and to get your strength damage. So I think that's kind of why I didn't go that route. I think it's more of an advanced class that I think it takes a little bit more. I think this is something that anyone can approach. It's very easy. There's no one set item that kind of makes this build work, like say the special helmet for the Death Knight build or for the Necromancer build. This character just simply needs to have a polearm if you go with my polearm route, or just needs to have just decent enough armor. So there's a lot of ways you can approach this, and I hope that you get a better idea now of how to play this really cool Templar character that is kind of like a paladin, right? You are a fighter, you can cast spells, but maybe less on the Divine Smite kind of role and the Channel Oath role, and more of the general kind of fighter role, getting up close and personal, magnifying the war domain capabilities with the raw capabilities of the fighter, and using all these really cool Battle Master capabilities. I have 2 less than I should because this character is not level 12. If I was level 12, I would get 2 more of these maneuvers to have even more capabilities. So there's a lot of really fun that you can have, with this class, and hopefully you enjoy it. If you have any other suggestions or ways that you could probably change this class, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. Hey, you know what? I use this item, this weapon, this armor, whatever it is, and it really, really allowed this combination to pop off. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one, and take care.